Hi guys, welcome back to UKFlyFisher. Today I've got another fly tying demonstration for you, and today I'm going to be tying one of my favourite droppers when it comes to sea trout fishing. That is the Midnight Madness. It's a variation on a fly I used to fish called the Midnight Magic. I've taken all the positives from that and removed some of the bits that weren't really needed. For example, the orange head just really doesn't add anything to the fly. We're fishing at night, we're usually putting this on midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning as a dropper fly. Wasn't needed, took it out, and I think we've come up with a great dropper pattern here that's sure to catch you some more fish. Let's see how it's tied. So the hook we're going to be tying on, and the main hook I use, is a Sala in size 7. Now you can't really get your hands on these hooks anymore, so another alternative for you is a B830, the Camazan B830, and as you can see here, looks just as deadly, catches just as many fish. I just prefer the hook hold you get with the Sala hooks. Really well designed hooks, the Sala hooks. Fortunately they don't do them anymore. But as you can see here, creates a fantastic fly. And I think you just get, with that slightly upturned point and that bigger gape, you just get a better hook hold. And that's why we're using that to tie these flies. Now the tying silk we're going to be using is a 140 UTC in black. And I'm going to just come in where the eye of the hook bends over itself and tie in nicely there. So for the tag of the fly and the rib, we're going to be using a silver wire. This is UTC in the BR size. I'm just going to break off a longish piece of that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to line the wire up against where the eye comes back on itself. And what this does is it helps you create a nice taper. So I'm just going to make sure it sits perfectly on the side and then tie it all the way down. Now about here is where I want the body turn, so I'm going to take 5 turns further back so we're in line with the point. One more, like so, and then come back on myself, and then I'm going to use the wire and take 5 turns of this back up to create a nice little tag. Now you can do this with tinsel if you want, but it's just a bit stronger if you do it with wire. Take a turn over the top, 1 in front, another turn over the top and 1 in front. I'm going to leave this because this is also going to be our rib. You could tie it in all the way up and all the way back down. Doesn't really matter. The body's going to be scruffy anyway, so there's no point in worrying too much. Now for the body of the fly, we're going to be using a black Keo cock feather, and we're going to get one, and we kind of want to open up the fibers on the feather and make sure they're about the size of the gape of the hook, which is perfect. And then I'm going to tie it in by the tag at the smallest end of the fly. Just going to come in and snip to in line with where that eye bends over. And I'm going to tie this all the way up to make sure it's nice and secure, and all the way back down. Now the body of the fly is simple. All it is, black seals for most successful sea trout flies would be black and silver. This is no different. And we're going to loosely dub this on. We don't want it too tight. What we want to try and do is taper it towards the front of the fly. Every couple of turns in, I just make sure that that fiber's on there. Gonna need some more. Take your time with the body, there's no rush. This fly is one of them flies that is a bit more bushy in the water. Helps you imitate some of their other natural preys out at sea. With most of my flies, they're quite slimline, they're representing bait fish or sand eels. But this kind of more in your face, more take your time with this one. We're trying to get a bit more of a bushy effect, just to give a nice silhouette of some of the natural prey items that they find at sea. Usually we go for slimline, which really represents the bait fish and the sand eels really well. But they also eat things like shrimp and other small aquatic species. They're a bit more bushy in their appearance, so having a bit of a thicker silhouette, creating a natural bushiness. And I want to come in just to 5 mil back from where the eye bends upwards. And then all I'm going to do is pull some of these fibres up to make sure they don't get tied in under themselves. Like so. And then I'm going to come in, take this fibre up, try and keep the spacing quite equal between them, get a little bit wider as you go up the fly, and then when you get to this point here, you're just going to come across the feather, drop it in, turn in front, turn behind, and then I'm going to pull everything forward, backwards, 2 tight turns, come in with them scissors, cut away that waist piece. As you can see here, it's a great looking fly already. To keep the body and the hackle a bit more secure, we're then going to counter rib with the wire up. Give it a little wiggle as you go to try and avoid trapping in fibres, but if you trap a few in, it really doesn't matter. Like so, and then come across your wire and trap it in place. And then when you're happy it's in place, just bend and break away till it comes loose. And then I'm just going to give everything a little rub backwards, take 2 tight turns just to make sure everything's nice and tight, like so. And that's your fly coming together really nicely there. That's the kind of bushy body you want, just to give them something different when the nights when the slimline isn't working. Now, as I mentioned, this is usually my dropper fly. Because of that, it sits a bit higher, and I believe that silhouette is why it gets so many takes. Now, for the top hackle of the fly, we're going to be using bronze mallard. I'm just going to get rid of all the waste pieces that I don't need. So I'm left with that and the stem. And then I'm going to come in with my pliers and grab smallest part as possible. And then move everything else forwards, because this is where I'm going to tie in. So I'm left with a little tag like this. Offer it up to the side of the fly. Trap it in place, bend it back on itself. Another 2 turns. And then all I need to do is snip away that tag. Like so. And then stroke these fibres back, and we're going to take 2 turns just at the head of the fly. So 1, 2, like so. Come across the feather, bend it back on itself again, 1, 2 turns in front, and then come away and snip away that stem. So this is a fantastic fly now. And the last bit you don't need to do. I tend to do it just because I've always done it, so it's more of a confidence thing. I don't know if it makes any difference to the fly. It might do. And because it might do, I've always stuck to doing it. But at the same time, it might make no difference at all, and it might be completely pointless. But what I've always said is if you're fishing with confidence, you're more likely to catch fish. So all we're going to do for the last step is add some jungle cock eyes here. I got a nice half cape here, which my friend Lee Ashcroft gave to me, and it's helping me make some great sea trout patterns, so I'll have to tie him up a few. So I'm going to choose 2 fibres that are roughly the same size, and they're going to look great on the side of this fly. What I'm going to do then is remove the waste pieces on the sides that I'm not going to use. And I'm going to stroke everything backwards, and I want to tie in just before the white bit ends. My thread's coming a bit loose there, so what you can do is you can give it a spin. I would keep it nice and tight and then turn it in. See how that's sitting? Yeah, I like how that's sitting. It could come a little bit up. Like so. And then I'm just going to do exactly the same to this. I line it up the same place you've tied in the other one. 2 turns, and then we're going to push these eye parts back so we can lock down on itself. So that side and this side. Then while holding them stems backwards, we're just going to come in, tie in a nice head there. Take your time with the head, it's the bit that finishes the fly. Like so. Snip away them stems. On both sides. And I'm just going to make sure that there's no white showing through on this head. And then all that's left to do is come in and whip finish. Quite a simple dropper, to be honest, and it catches loads of fish. As I said, it originally started as the Midnight Magic. This slight variation I call the Midnight Madness, because usually come midnight I swap over from my stinger to 2 flies, and this will go on the dropper and you can have some great fun on it. All that I need to do now is varnish that head, and I'll give this 2 to 3 coats just to make sure it's nice and secure. So there we have it. That's the Midnight Magic, and it's one of my favourite flies on the dropper. It'll also work great as a single fly on a really hot day, dark conditions with low water. This can work great on its own. Just cast across the bank 30 or 45 degrees and let it swing around with the current, just keeping in touch with it, and be prepared for a scrap, because when they take this they tend to go ballistic. It's a great fly. I really enjoy fishing it, and I hope it helps you catch plenty more fish. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.